I will just start the recording and then start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagalpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Jaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayamudirail. Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki, Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya Cha, Nandagopakumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'll share my screen to continue the chapter 1. Please let me know you can see the screen, PowerPoint.
We can see the screen.
Okay, thank you. So a quick summary. So the last week we stopped here in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. It speaks about the supremacy of Lord Sri Krishna. He is the absolute truth. He is the ultimate controller, maintainer, etc. He knows everything because he sits in everyone's heart. And the purpose of studying Srimad Bhagavatam also we discussed. It was given in the purport of that verse by Srila Prabhupada elaborately, the gradual elevation to the highest perfectional stage of transcendence. So Bhagavatam takes us beyond the three modes of material activities, including Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, etc. It is going to give us pure bhakti. And we also discussed that pure bhakti can be achieved only by the mercy of a pure devotee. And the greatest example here is Srila Vyasadeva is given the instruction by Srila Narada Muni to glorify Krishna directly and then get satisfied up to the fullest extent. So, I mean, we discussed many other aspects, but that was a real quick summary of the first verse. It ends with Satyam Param Dhimahi. So the Gayatri Mantra is described there, at least the essence of Gayatri Mantra. So Satyam Param Dhimahi is meditate upon the absolute truths. That's what Vyasadeva is doing in the beginning. And in the second verse, so I'll chant the verse first, and then we will discuss some of the aspects. So what we will do today is we will discuss verse 2 and 3 because they are very, very important also. And then we will summarize the rest of the verses. The rest of the verses are basically the sages asking 6 questions to Suta Goswami. So we will go through those questions today, and the answers will come in the later chapters. Okay. So I'll recite the verse 2, which is also a long meter, but very, very nice verse with so much of nectar in this. Dharmah projita kaitavotra paramo nirmal saranam satam vedyam vasvatamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite kim va parairishvara sadyo hridyavarudhyate kritibhih shushrooshibhistatshanal. Now the translation. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So there are nice details given in this verse itself. So first is it speaks about Dharma Projita Kaitavotra, Kaitava Dharma. That means religious or religion which is not properly situated, religious activities which are materially motivated, because the ultimate purpose of religion is to attain love of Godhead. But if the religion is utilized for some material sense gratification, then that is to be rejected. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is speaking in the beginning. So Bhagavat Purana is rejecting those kind of religions, and it propounds the highest truth. Now this is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. So later we will see that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam has to be very carefully done from the authority or from a pure devotee, because they only can realize the highest truth. Now this highest truth is reality. We discussed that last week, and this is distinguished from illusion. And this is done for the welfare of all living entities, not for one sect of people or Hindus or things like that. This is meant for everyone's welfare, all living entities, not only human. And this truth uproots the threefold miseries. So we will discuss these things. Now here is a special mention about this beautiful Bhagavatam. This is compiled by Vyasadeva in his maturity. So this is not compiled by an ordinary person. All of a sudden, just somebody wanted to write something. It is not like that. And this is compiled by Vyasadeva. He is highly qualified. On top of that, this is done in his maturity. That means after he received the instruction from Srila Narada Dev, and he went through meditation, and then in that mature stage, he compiled Bhagavatam. So this is very significant and very pure, Amala Puran. And this Bhagavatam is sufficient in itself for God realization. So what is the need of any other scripture? That means just by studying Srimad Bhagavatam under the guidance of a pure devotee, that is more than enough, sufficient enough for realizing Krishna. That's what it is mentioned. And the method by which Bhagavatam has to be studied is also given. One has to attentively and submissively hear Srimad Bhagavatam. That way, if one follow the instructions, then the culture of knowledge, by this culture of knowledge, Supreme Lord will be established within his heart. So We will discuss these aspects in detail to some extent. Okay. So in the purport, Prabhupada starts with, what is religion and who needs religion or who is following religion, etc. So he speaks about these four things which is done by all living entities, humans and animals also: eating, sleeping, fearing and mating. Fearing or defending, sometimes we call defending out of fear, and mating. So we can see here eating, sleeping, defending and mating. So all kinds of living entities, humans, of course, we know we do this, and animals also do this. Sometimes we see that there are animals who can do these things better than how a human does it. Sleeping. We may not be able to sleep continuously for usually more than half a day, or maybe more than a day at most. But there are animals who can sleep for several days, bears, etc. So they do that better than us. And defending, of course, we know that there are better animals, lions, tigers, etc. They can defend much better than us. They have more strength. And mating also, there are animals who can do that much better than us. And eating also, of course, we have a sort of seemingly civilized way of eating on a table and things like that. But animals, they, without having all these facilities which humans have, animals are also eating. So they are also doing all these things in a much better way sometimes. So what is the difference between animals and human being? So the description is humans have more intelligence or higher intelligence. What makes humans different from animals? They have higher intelligence. They have the capacity to do reasoning, questioning, thinking in a better way, logical intelligence, analysis, etc. Inquisitive nature is there. So religion is an extra function which usually we don't see within the animal community. So this is meant for self-realization, by the way. But what happens is we have the tendency, even human also have the tendency to enjoy our own senses. So Vedas are giving all these details on how to enjoy our senses by doing regulative rituals and things like that, yajnas, etc. So humans in general tend to follow those religious principles or religion so that they can have some sense gratification, because we need some wealth so that we can enjoy our senses. So for that purpose, we do some rituals, get some wealth. We usually call these purushartha, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now, Vedas are prescribing regulative ways to do these things. Even the kama is desires, how to satisfy the desire. So Vedas are giving details on how to satisfy our desire for this, that, etc. in a regulative way. It's not, unlimited way. And usually what happens is, humans, they'll follow dharma to get some artha and that way satisfy some desires. And there is moksha also, but majority will get stuck here. Dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama, and then don't go beyond that to achieve moksha. Even this moksha, even if some people go, they try to attain this, becoming one with God, that kind of liberation. So we can see here, Srimad Bhagavatam is taking us beyond all these things. So within Vedas, there are different sections, Samhita, which are some mantras, Brahmanas, which is Karma Kanda, Aranyaka is Upasana Kanda, and Upanishads are Jnana Kanda. So there are different divisions, and each division, one can get stuck here or here or here, etc. But Srimad Bhagavatam will take us beyond all these Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, etc. because it is superior. It aims at supreme truth, not becoming one with God or getting some sense gratification. Do some pious activities, follow the rituals, regulations, and then attain some higher planets, or worship some specific demigods and attain their planets, or becoming one with God. These things are there, but Srimad Bhagavatam will take us beyond all these things. It will give us the opportunity to eternally serve the Supreme Lord and then experience that bliss by exchanging love with God, the Supreme Lord. So we can see all these texts, cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam. These are full of descriptions by which we can go beyond these ritualistic activities and so-called religion. So, as mentioned in the verse, Srimad Bhagavatam is written in the maturity of Vyasadev's spiritual life, of course, through the mercy of Narada. And who is Vyasadev? He is the incarnation of Narayana, personality of Godhead. Because of that, there is no question of the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why Srimad Bhagavatam has got such a highest position? Because it is compiled by Srila Vyasadev, who is the incarnation of Lord, the Supreme Lord himself. So there is no need to doubt or no need to worry about, can I simply study Srimad Bhagavatam alone and, do not pay much attention to other Vedic rituals? Is that okay? Or some people have concerns because we have been, told right from childhood, many of the Hindu families, you have to do this ritual, that ritual. If you don't do this, this will happen, or if you do, you will get this. If you don't do that, you will not achieve success in human life, etc., etc. But then Srimad Bhagavatam is beyond all these things. It is very, very clear. This is convincing because of Vyasadeva's position. And in our disciplic line, Lord Chaitanya, who is none other than Krishna himself, but he also came as a devotee. He acted as one of the Acharya. He recommended Srimad Bhagavatam as the spotless Purana, Amala Purana. Not only he recommended, but he demonstrated that by having that eagerness to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So one of his eternal associate, Gadadhara Pandit, his Radharani's manifestation. So you can see in this picture in this assembly. So Gadadhar Pandit will recite Srimad Bhagavatam every day, hours and hours. And then Mahaprabhu will simply listen and feel the ecstasy of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So he demonstrated that Srimad Bhagavatam is the ultimate literature, which we have to discuss, read, study, follow, relish, etc. So, and the effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it is given in the second chapter also in detail. We will discuss that later. But it's given here in this verse also. It is given just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, instantly the heart, the contaminations of the heart can be cleared out, impurities. Something like, when we have some severe disease, some infection, the doctor will prescribe an antibiotic because it's not going otherwise. So the antibiotic has the potency to remove the disease all of a sudden, almost. So if one properly, submissively, attentively hears Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described that the miseries will be uprooted. So in chapter 2, we will discuss this verse, Shushrusho Shraddha Dhanasya Vasudeva Katharuji. Syan Mahal Sevaya, it's given how to even hear Srimad Bhagavatam. First, by serving the pure devotee, Mahat Sevaya. Shushrusho, by serving nicely, we can achieve because we need to have eagerness to hear first. Before hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to have the eagerness to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. So how do we achieve the eagerness? By serving a pure devotee. That way we get the eagerness. Once one is eager to hear, we will try to hear Srimad Bhagavatam somehow or other, right? Whatever we are eager to do, we will try to do that. So first we serve the pure devotee, and then develop the eagerness, and then start hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That way our heart can be cleansed. So Vyasadeva also assures that one can realize the Supreme Lord directly just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Very simple. We don't need to do so much of tapasya or austerity by going into a secluded place in Himalaya or somewhere. We simply need to pay attention to Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all. Everything is given to us just here. That's it. Very simple. And Bhagavatam has got so many pastimes. So it's very easy to relish also. It's not so boring. Unlike some other, Vedanta Sutra, if one wants to study Vedanta Sutra, it's not so easy for people like us. But Bhagavatam is the essence, matured essence of, in verse 3, we will see that essence of all the Vedas. So it's easy to just hear Srimad Bhagavatam and get the ultimate benefit. And by doing that, Krishna will come and sit in the lotus of one's heart. Again, just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, we will start developing eagerness to serve the Lord and devotees, and we will extend our endeavors to do other services, starting with chanting, and then here, remembering Krishna, serving the lotus feet, serving devotees, and many, many services. That is part of that anyway. So it is given here without undergoing the different stages of realization set forth in the Vedas. One can lift it immediately to the position of a Paramahamsa. Again, by simply agreeing to receive this message. Now, agreeing to receive this message means not only simply hearing, but in a submissive way, accepting this message as the ultimate reality and applying that into our life. Showing that readiness to accept Srimad Bhagavatam and receive Srimad Bhagavatam in that way and follow the instructions. Then we can also reach to the stage of Paramahamsa without following the other ritualistic process, which is very, very tedious. So now we will go to verse 3. Now verse 3 is very sweet. It describes about the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is slightly smaller verse compared to the first two verses, but this is a very nice meter also. So I'll chant the verse, then discuss the verse. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shuka mukhadamrita drava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. So this verse describes the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. So Galitam Phalam means fruit. Galitam means matured fruit. Of Nigama means Vedas or Vedic literatures. Kalpataru is desired tree. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit, as given here. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. So Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of the desire tree of all the Vedic literatures. So we can simply relish the mature fruit. If the fruit is not matured, it's not so easy to relish. But if it is matured, then anyone, even a kid, can relish the matured fruit. It's easy. Now, on top of that, Shukamukhad Amrita Drava Samyutam. So this Bhagavatam is coming or emanated from the lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Mukha means face, or specifically lips of Srila Shukadeva Goswami. So that becomes even sweeter. Amrita Dravam, nectar, nectarian. Now, instruction is to drink Srimad Bhagavatam. So this fruit has become even more tasteful because it came from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Rasika, the liberated souls, it is already nectarian and it is relishable, Rasamalayam, and it is being relished by the liberated souls. But when it comes emanating from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami, that becomes even sweeter. Because sometimes we hear this, if a bird or parrot, tastes the fruit, then that fruit becomes much more sweeter. So Shuka means, another meaning is parrot. But Shukadeva Goswami, there is a pastime behind that. I will not go into that due to lack of time. But so because of that, this becomes sweeter, but also by the qualification of Shukadeva Goswami. He is a pure devotee right from his birth. And because of that, and he understands Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly. So because of his purity and his appreciation about Srimad Bhagavatam, when he speaks Srimad Bhagavatam, the sweetness becomes much more. So it is very important that we hear Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. And we are fortunate that Srila Prabhupada, a pure devotee of the Lord, has given us this, the translation and purports. So it's very much recommended that one learns from such a pure devotee. And that's what we are doing. We are learning from Srila Prabhupada, the details of Bhagavatam. So in this verse, it is given that Srimad Bhagavatam is a cream of all Vedic knowledge, and cream is easily relishable. And it gives the highest knowledge or realization that Supreme Personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. Now there are different rasas described in the scriptures. The primary rasas we are aware of, the adoration, Shanta rasa, service, the dasya, friendship is Sakhya, parental affection, Valsalya, and the conjugal love, Madhurya rasa. And there are 7 secondary rasas also. It is described anger, chivalry, etc., etc. So there are devotees who are having such rasas. The Bhishma Dev is a pure devotee. He has the chivalry rasa. He wanted to give pleasure to Krishna by having fight. That is also rasa. So the sum total of all these rasas is called love. So love of Krishna doesn't mean just in one mood only the love can be experienced or expressed, but there are different ways Krishna would like to express or being experienced rasas with his devotees. So Krishna is the fountainhead of all these rasas. And when one exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then that living being becomes actually happy. Now we may not be knowing our constitutional position right now, whether my rasa is in Shanta or Dasya or friendship or conjugal or Valsalya, that we don't know. So we don't want to speculate and start exchanging love with Krishna in this mood or that mood. That's not prescribed. But for now we are instructed to be in the servitor mode, because all these rasas are having that built in. Everyone is a servant of Krishna. So just being in that dasya mode with awe and reverence for now, execute this sadhaka program practices for all the devotees. So at least in the practicing stage, that's what being described. But we know that these rasas exist, and by learning Srimad Bhagavatam, following that, we can experience these rasas. That's what being given. Now in the material world also we can see there is rasa or these kind of exchanges in the mode of Shanta, Dasya, friendship, Valsalya, and conjugal. All these things are there, but in a perverted form. Because of that, it is not pure, it is temporary, it is impure, and it is not going to give us actual happiness. Seemingly, we may feel like I'm happy by exchanging this particular rasa with another person, but that is temporary. And then immediately there will be a distress coming along with that. But in the spiritual world, in this absolute platform, these rasas will give us complete happiness eternally. Now the Vedas, and this is the mature fruit, is Srimad Bhagavatam. We have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a genuine source, as we described before. Because the reason given is this is the ripened fruit. So there is an example given. So suppose there is a big tree, tall tree, and there are some ripened, say, mangoes on top of the tree. And if someone goes on top of the tree and pluck the mango and then just throw it down, so there is a chance that it will touch in the branches or somewhere here and there. And since it is very much ripened, very soft, it can get damaged. So another way to do is, there are boys who will climb on top of the tree. One boy will go all the way top where the mangoes are there, and then another boy will be a little bit down, another one is slightly down, etc. And then the first boy will pluck the mangoes and then carefully hand over that to the next boy, and then the second one will carefully hand over the same without eating or without damaging to the next one, etc. And it will come down as it is without any damage. You're not losing anything. So the mature fruit has to be carefully handed over. So similarly, this mature fruit of Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence is handed over through the chain of disciplic succession as it is, very carefully. So we have to accept that message coming through the chain of disciplic succession. Then we can drink the actual nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam, nectarian juice. So here Shukadev Goswami is very bona fide Acharya, because he's he's the disciple of Narada Dev here. Srila Narada instructed, Narada instructed Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva instructed Shukadev Goswami. So it is Krishna instructed Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva to Shukadev Goswami, and then it comes down all the way to Srila Prabhupada and then his followers, and we are also receiving through that chain. So we are all safe to receive Bhagavatam in this way. So we can also relish. I'm sure we are all relishing to some extent, at least at this level. And then when we purify our hearts, the degree of that bliss will also increase. Now that is verse 3. Now after verse 3, this chapter 1, now I'll going to summarize the chapter 1 instead of going to the different verses, because the purpose of this discussion is to summarize the chapter. But the first 3 verses are very, very special, so I just spend more time for our own purification and understanding. So after that, what happens is, this is a scene, what you can see here. There is a place called Naimisharanya. It still exists. This is a very special place. So several great sages headed by the sage Shaunaka assembled in this particular place, Naimisharanya, to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice. Again, this is done to satisfy the Lord and his devotees. So in this assembly, all the exalted qualified personalities are they assembled together and to perform this yajna. But part of this yajna is Srimad Bhagavatam. Now this it is given in Vayaviya Tantra that Naimisharanya is a hub of a great wheel enclosing the entire universe, and that hub is fixed at this place. So there is a speciality for this place. That's why they assembled there. And in Varaha Purana, it is described that performance of sacrifice at this place curtails the strength of demoniac people. So we can be saved from demoniac people by doing sacrifice here. So there are some reasons why they chose Naimisharanya. At this, in this place, Naimisharanya, the sages, of course, the fire yajna is happening, but they are also wanting to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Suta Goswami. Now, Suta Goswami is one of the audience who heard Bhagavatam when Shukadev Goswami spoke to Parikshit Maharaj. So they felt like Suta Goswami will be qualified. So they are addressing Suta Goswami, sitting here, addressing like this: being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Suta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead. And you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. So they are glorifying him. And then another very important thing they are addressing him is, because you are submissive, very important, submissive. That is one of the main qualification. Your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. So you got all the blessings and mercy from your spiritual master and spiritual masters because of your submissiveness. So because of that, please tell us that you have scientifically learned from them. Whatever you learned, please describe that to us. So they are requesting Suta Goswami. Now in the chapter 1 specifically, it mentions about 6 very important questions. The sages will ask 6 questions to Suta Goswami. Now today we will go through these questions and the significance of these questions, because the answers we will discuss later whenever it comes in the Bhagavatam. But before even understanding the answers, we have to understand the significance of 6 questions. These are not random questions. All of a sudden they're asking this, that. No, these are very thoughtful questions, very significant questions, very, we will see, beneficial questions, not only to them, but they're asking this for the benefit of the entire humanity. Even the first question itself, we will see that. So the question 1 goes like this: what is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? So they just start with a question which is not for themselves, but for the entire humanity. So they are not selfish, they think that, oh, now we have Suta Goswami here, very qualified. So let me ask this question, because which is burning in my heart for my own benefit, because I have this question. I don't know whether others are interested in this or not, but let me ask. They are not thinking like that. They are thinking, they are very compassionate, very exalted sages. So they would like to make sure this will benefit even the yajna which they are doing. It is not for themselves, for the entire humanity, or for all living entities, entire universe. So the question is here: what is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? So all kinds of people. So Srila Prabhupada gave some purports in each of these verses where the questions are being asked. He describes the significance and discuss some aspects. The spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. So if one wants to become happy, even materially, it is better to try to become situated properly, spiritually. The spiritual well-being will provide even material well-being. Because of that, the acharyas usually give instructions and directions in spiritual well-being, because of that reason. That way they will automatically become happy materially also. Now, this can this doesn't mean that if you are spiritually situated, you can enjoy all the material facilities or things like that. That is not the ultimate instruction. Material well-being means we have this body, mind, and we are struggling hard to maintain our body and mind and soul together. So the material well-being ultimately means we can maintain our body properly, we can be situated with our mind, it can be controlled, and we won't be distracted too much, etc. Now diseases will come. This is material world, but we will be properly situated to deal with that and things like that. So that is the meaning here. So they are trying to establish these principles, or hear those instructions from Suta Goswami, which will provide these solutions for these things. What is the absolute and ultimate good in general? So they are asking about absolute good or ultimate good, not temporary solutions for this or that. So that is the first question. Now in the second question, they ask, what is the essence of all Vedic literatures? Now there is a reason for asking this essence of all Vedic literatures. So they are not asking, describe all the Vedic literatures in the beginning, but they are asking for the essence. Because this is the beginning of Kali Yuga, as we all know. The Bhagavatam was spoken in the beginning of Kali Yuga. So in this age of Kali, of course, the length of lives are very short, up to 100 years these days, even less than that. And then it's quarrelsome, lazy, people are lazy, they are misguided, all sort of confusions are there, they are unlucky and always disturbed. Now, if one wants to learn the Vedic literatures directly, the Vedas, Upanishads, etc., with these kind of disqualifications such as laziness, always disturbed, etc., it's not so easy. Even after spending so many years of study, It is not easy to understand the essence of the literatures directly by directly studying the Vedas, as we all know, right? Sometimes we don't even understand the language. Even if someone understands Sanskrit language to some extent, sometimes the language used in the Vedas will be very kind of hidden languages and this, that. So it's not so easy to understand. What to speak of the purport of that or essence of that. So it is almost impossible for Kali Yuga people to understand Vedas directly. So they are asking, please select the essence of all scriptures. And they just describe us simply the essence of the scriptures so that everyone else can also learn or understand the essence and follow that, and then their hearts will be fully satisfied. So again, this is very compassionate nature of the sages. They are asking for the entire humanity, the essence of Vedic literatures. And in the third question, now they comes to this Supreme Lord. So they are not, impersonalists or Mayavadis. They completely accept the Supreme Lord. They are asking for what purpose the Supreme Lord Krishna appeared in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva. So that this is the third question. Now, a Supreme Lord is the controller. He is the controller of all opulences, etc. He is a protector of his pure devotees. Now, he is Swarat, completely independent. Now, why he took birth in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? That is the third question. We will hear the answers later, so you may not hear the answers in this discussion. Now here, there are significance of Vasudeva, Devaki, etc. So it is described that when Krishna took birth, first he took birth in the mind of Vasudeva, and then from the mind he got transferred to the womb of Devaki. So he did not take birth as ordinary human beings taking birth from the womb of a mother, not like that. So Vasudeva is a symbol of the transcendental position. And it is described that Vasudeva is pure goodness or Shuddha Sattva. Of course, the personality Vasudeva, he is very pure. And Vasudeva, sometimes it's described as Vasudeva consciousness for pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. So why Krishna took birth in his mind? Because he was very pure. That is where Krishna makes his appearance. Similarly, if we develop pure consciousness, when our hearts become completely pure, then Krishna will come and sit in our hearts. So we are inviting Krishna to sit in our hearts. It is like one, exalted personality, maybe spiritual master or someone like that, sannyasi is coming to our home. We would like to clean our house, right? Not randomly cleaning some places, but we want to clean our house completely and look very nice, and so that we can invite them and give them a seat and serve them. Similarly, if we would like to invite Krishna into our hearts, we have to cleanse our heart. Now we have the methods by chanting the holy name, Chetvodarpanamarjanam. So that's what being described. So Krishna took birth in the mind of Vasudeva, who is completely pure. So they are asking the purpose of that in this question. So this is also very important to know why Krishna took birth, or what was the purpose of Krishna taking birth, because he is the supreme controller, source of everything, Anadir Adir Govinda, Paramapurusha. Then why he is taking birth, that kind of thing. What is the significance and purpose? That was the third question. And question number 4 is also very important. So they are asking, what are the acts of Lord in relation to creation of this material world? So now they are coming into the material world related question. What are the acts of Lord in relation to creation of this material world? Not only spiritual world, not only the pastimes with his own eternal associates, that's there one side, but this is very important to know for the conditioned souls, because we are all trapped in this material world, going through the cycle of birth and death. So the sages are asking these details of material world, creation of material world. We will see in Bhagavatam, there are so much of descriptions about the creation of the material world. Even though Bhagavatam is the Amala Puran talking about Supreme Lord, absolute truth and bhakti, but it is also giving so much of description about the creation of material world, because it's very important for us to know that where we are and how this material world is being created and why this is being created. Why is very important to know also. Now Lord's creation, whether spiritual or material, because of course these are eternally existing, they are all wonderful and they have variegatedness. And these are described by liberated souls such as Narada Muni. Now, the answer is not directly given here, but in the last sentence here, those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnations, wherein he displays his, the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm, meaning he wants to attract the conditioned souls who left his, spiritual world, Krishna's home, original home. We all left that home and we came here in this material world, or we have been given this material world so that we can try to enjoy on our own without Krishna. And Krishna knows that we cannot enjoy here at all. This is full of misery, dukkhalayam, ashashvadam, temporary also, it will come and go. So he wanted to, so once conditioned souls are here, they are not so much attracted to know about Krishna and all those things. So he want to give them some attraction. So that is the reason why he descends here. So part of that, so sages wanted to know what Krishna did to create this material world, how Krishna created, why Krishna created, and what are the different activities in connection to that also. So that is the question number 4. And question number 5 is, what are the activities of the incarnations of the Lord? Not only Lord Krishna himself, but they know that Krishna descends as different incarnations, Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc., etc., and so many. There are unlimited incarnations for the Lord. So they are asking the activities of those incarnations also, because this is also very important to know. Because whoever has some taste for transcendental relationships, they'll be wanting to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So by asking this question, they are expecting that Suta Goswami will describe various pastimes of Lord Krishna is there, but even other incarnations. And we see that Bhagavatam is full of descriptions of these incarnations also. Many incarnations, not all. Lord Nrsimha, Lord Rama, and so many other incarnations. Matsya Kurma, Varaha, etc. So they are preparing themselves to hear these pastimes. They have 1,000 years there, the yajna is going to happen. So they will be able to hear peacefully all these pastimes of the incarnations. So this is the question, because this question is very, very, very significant. Regular hearing and recitation of SB is the only way for self-realization. Because these Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, etc., they are transcendental. They are not mundane literature. So just by hearing these, mystical things will happen. Our hearts will be cleansed, as mentioned before. Anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly, maybe throughout his or her whole life, and still they can figure out something new. We must have experienced this. You open Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, read a verse, read the translation and purport. Again, read that tomorrow or next week or next month. We will feel this is fresh. I never thought it has this kind of meaning before, or I never felt this kind of happiness or bliss or some feeling, happiness or something else, whatever. I never felt when I read this before or before. So this will give us never-ending freshness each time we read or hear. Here also, we hear the same pastime again and again. Especially, Janmashtami is coming up. Balaram Jayanti is coming up, Janmashtami, then Radhashtami, Govardhan Puja, etc., etc. So all these festivals we will hear same pastimes each year, but we don't get bored. We are enthusiastic to hear these pastimes. We feel something new and new each time we hear, because these are transcendental literature. It has that potency. So the sages doesn't want to miss that opportunity. So that is why they are asking this question number 5, incarnations, activities of the incarnations. So that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached this system of Bhagavata Dharma. Lord Chaitanya's teaching, they are exactly same as Bhagavatam teaching. There is no difference. And he recommended that all those Bharata Bhumi, he used that word, Bharata Bhumi, who are born in India should take the responsibility of broadcasting the message of Lord Sri Krishna. So first we have to understand, we have to follow that, then broadcasting this is very important. And specifically people who are born in India has this better opportunity to understand these things. So we have been given additional responsibility compared to people who are born in other countries. But now we can see, by the mercy of Prabhupada, people who are born in other countries, they are also taking up this responsibility, sometimes much better than many Indians who are not ready to take up these responsibilities. And the last question, 6th question is, where have religious principles gone after Krishna's disappearance from this planet? Now, Krishna disappeared from this planet after his pastime. So they are very curious to know, anxious or curious to know, where is this religious principles gone? So we know that dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Religion is the prescribed codes enunciated by the personality of Godhead himself. So when Krishna was having his pastimes in this material world, he spoke Bhagavad Gita. So that was a great benefit. And he gave many instructions. He spoke to Uddhava, etc. And he directly demonstrated many pastimes. And so he was there. But now that he is not, at least his Prakat Leela is not there, he's not existing in that way. So where have these religious principles gone? So they were anxious and curious to know that. So Bhagavad Gita speaks about this, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham, and then paritranaya sadhunam, etc. Why he descends, Krishna descends, right? When there is a misuse of religious principles, Lord appears, etc. So they wanted to know what happens to the religious principles now, how it will be re-established or it will be maintained, etc. Of course, the answer for that is Srimad Bhagavatam. We will describe that in detail later. So in the Naimisharanya, the sages are asking these very, very wonderful, very important, very significant, very beneficial questions to Suta Goswami. Srimad Bhagavatam is a sound incarnation or representation of Krishna, and it is a full representation of transcendental knowledge and religious principles. So purport Srila Prabhupada gives hints of these answers to some of the questions, but the details will come later. But this last question is so important because many people sometimes complain that, I think we discussed this before in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was having this wonderful golden opportunity of having Krishna in front of him. So he could ask any question directly to Krishna, and then Krishna responded with the solution or answers, and Arjuna could follow that. We are not able to see Krishna directly. So we are so unfortunate. So how do we get that opportunity? So the answer is, yes, Krishna has given us the principles, Bhagavad Gita, and then through his representatives, Bhagavatam has been compiled, now Vyasadeva, and many other literatures. So they are none other than Krishna. They are not different from Krishna. So just by hearing Bhagavatam from authoritative personalities or reading Bhagavatam purports written by the pure devotee or discussing among other devotees, we are also getting the same opportunity which Arjuna and other devotees received. So we also have Krishna face to face in that way. So these are very important to know. That's why sages are asking these 6 questions. And I will stop here. So this sort of concludes chapter 1. A quick summary of chapter 1 is, now it starts with Satyam Param Dhimahi. It proves that Krishna is absolute personality of Godhead. And in the second verse, the glorification of Bhagavatam is given. The Bhagavatam is beyond the 3 modes of nature or anything in this material world, beyond Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda. It takes us to a state where we can face to face see Krishna, realize Krishna. It is not the so-called religion for sense gratification, but this is beyond that. And in the tapatrayo and moolanam, it uproots the misery, all the miseries in the material world. And if verse 3, it is describing, it is a mature fruit of all Vedic literatures, the desired tree of Vedic knowledge. And it can be relished. It is already being relished, but when it comes from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami, the sweetness increases. And we are having that fortune to relish Srimad Bhagavatam coming from Shukadeva Goswami through the disciplic succession. That is in the verse 3. And then rest of the verses, we see that there are many questions, especially 6 important questions being asked by the sages, and which are all very beneficial questions for the entire humanity, not only for one sect of people, but all of us, basically. Now, understanding the questions and the answers to these questions, that will help us understanding Srimad Bhagavatam in a better way and realize Krishna. That is the purpose of these questions. Okay, so I will stop here for today and see if you have any questions or comments or would like to share some realizations on any of these topics.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, what you said is exactly right. When we listen, it will be so soothing and so nice to the heart. But after the class now, when we want to recollect what was said or what was the main about it, we are unable to recollect it.
Correct.
And whenever we try to again listen the class or read any of the scriptures which we are having now, it will be a question mark for us.
Right,
So
that is true.
how to make it a process so that we can completely involve in this, so that we can remember and do it.
Correct. Very good question. Of course, Kali Yuga memory is so bad. We are not able to remember. Sometimes we forget some names of our, people whom we met, or many things we can easily forget. That is how Kali Yuga memory. And the solution is continuous hearing, repeated hearing, keep hearing, keep hearing. That is a short answer. So one of the things which we see that there are principles given in the scriptures, and many lectures we hear that, and then there are details. Now, many times it's very difficult to remember the details. Some details we may catch sometimes, and sometimes principles also we forget, of course. But we can focus more on the principles, and then keep hearing, so the details will be, we will be able to remember. For example, some names within the scripture, some pastimes we hear, Krishna's pastimes or any other pastime. Some names we are not able to hear. but sometimes the instruction given by Krishna to the particular devotee or one devotee to another devotee, that we may be able to remember, right?
Yes, yes,
But so the ultimate solution is keep hearing, keep that as a habit, and we can remember. Now, sometimes some devotees have the habit of taking notes. Some
yes,
devotees, they feel like taking notes means they cannot listen properly. Each one has their own nature. So if someone is okay for that, they can take some notes and then go through the notes so that they can remember some good points, instructions. But yes, what you told is true. For me also, it's true. Another thing which I heard is try to remember at least one or two things from, say, you hear one lecture. Try to take one or two messages as the most important for you for that time, and then try to meditate on that and contemplate and try to apply, so that at least you remember those one or two.
yes,
And then next time you hear again, try to pick like that, because if we try to remember everything, then we can get distracted, or we may not be able to do that. So we follow those essence. And these days we have the recordings and those facilities are there, so we are very fortunate to go back and listen or go through those section and things like that. Or when we read also, if you're reading every day or on a regular basis, try to catch a few important instructions and then try to meditate and apply, and then go gradually step by step, and then we will be able to remember. Now, relishing is also one part. It is not only about remembering. So we are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam not only to remember everything from that lecture or discussion, but as you mentioned, it is you are able to relish. That itself is a good fortune, because many people, they are not able to even relish. They cannot sit and hear a lecture more than few minutes, even if they are adults. Now, kids, we can understand their nature is playful, but majority of the people in this world, they cannot sit and hear, even if it is a pastime. No, they may be able to hear some, watch movie for a long time. I had a friend who used to watch one movie in the theater, then he'll go to next movie in another theater after that, and then like 2-3 movies he was mentioning. I was wondering, wow. So there are people who can do that these days, but they cannot listen to these kind of transcendental scriptures. But you are able to do that. That itself is a very good fortune. So relishing is one. We should be able to relish. That is nice. And then take some instructions, one or two, and try to follow, and then keep hearing.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Pranam,
Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Pranam.
Prabhuji, in question 4, we have that just now we have heard that Lord creation are all wonderful and contains all variegatedness.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I am not able to understand this meaning of variegatedness.
Variegatedness means varieties. His
Variety.
pastimes, varieties. You don't see you don't see Krishna acting only in this way, but each and every pastime has something new or different, something fresh in that. Now, his interaction with the gopis are in this way. His interaction with gopas are different. His interaction with people in Dwaraka is different. His interaction with demons are in a different way. Even he interacting with one demon is in this way, another demon is not the same way. He gave position of a maid servant to Putana, right? But he did not give similar one to some other demon. So the way he speaks, acts, everything has so much of varieties. And his creation of material world is also full of varieties. So much of, so much into that. So that's what it meant, variegatedness. And we also cannot expect Krishna to act only in this way. Even to us, sometimes we feel that, oh, Krishna, you reciprocated to me. May not be directly, through some devotees or so, through some situation, that way, that day. Now you are doing this to me. Why you are like that? No, because Krishna is independent, and he knows what is best for us. So he might do this way or that way. So we will experience so much of varieties. by ourselves. By interacting with Krishna, when chanting the holy name, we experience this way, this day, another way, another day, or this mantra, this round I'm feeling like this, another round I'm feeling a little differently, etc. So yes, Krishna has got all varieties. He is the source of variegatedness.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And from today's session, the word means I'm not else attract, means we have to be, mainly I'm talking about me, that I have to be submissive. This is all main missing part of my life. So
yeah, this is conditioned souls. As conditioned souls, we left Krishna because of that. I don't want to be submissive to Krishna, who is my master. That was the root cause. Or envious. I have envy to Krishna because he's a supreme. So yeah, that is our major issue. How to become. But now I know you are submissive to Srimad Bhagavatam. You are submissive to the acharyas. Otherwise, you will not be here. But at least we are taking those steps to become submissive. So we are in the right path. Of course, we have to keep that in mind and keep that mood of submission throughout our life. That is the main qualification. Bhagavad Gita gives 434. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. How to approach Guru with submissiveness. So yes, what you were mentioning is right. That's a very important quality.
And Prabhuji, one kind request to you. Please share these videos last Sundays also and these Sundays also, so that I can share it with others also.
Okay. I will make arrangements. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments?
Prabhuji, these videos, as Mataji requested, will be sent in the group or individually. If it is sent in the group, it will be benefited. We can also.
Okay, I will. I think usually Kumarika Mataji sends that. I will request her and get it done.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
In SBA 1.1.2, you have mentioned about this Vedas, na? Samhita, Brahmanas, Aranya. I want to know more about it. Upanishads, Jnana Kanda, and Aranyaka Upasana Kanda.
Okay.
So
I will try to get some details, some literature or document.
Yes.
And then again request Kumarika Mataji to send.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So any other comments? If not, we can stop for today. So yeah, Yugal Kishore Prabhu.
Yes, Hare
Krishna. Prabhu, tomorrow, you know who is facilitating this week?
Yeah, that will be communicated in a group. Mostly our Dhir Lalit Prabhu.
Okay.
Actually taking that. So
okay, then it's okay. See, because there was a discussion whether I may need to do or not, like a month before or so. So I just wanted to confirm. If somebody is there, then fine. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Premardhan Prabhu. Let's chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for wonderful things. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare. So